November 23rd, 2022, 2:11 a.m. A woman's scream broke the silence of the night. In a quiet apartment building in Tennessee, a neighbor woke up, startled. She heard loud footsteps, then a door slamming shut. After that, everything went quiet. Just a few minutes later, Jasmine Pace's mother got a strange message from her daughter's phone. It was just a location pin. No text, no explanation. At the time, no one realized how important that message would be. It led to a locked door, a missing girl, and a discovery no one was prepared for. This is the story of Jasmine Pace, and how one quiet night turned into something truly terrifying. If you're a fan of true crime and criminal investigations, you won't want to miss our new book, The Ultimate Book of Serial Killers: 180 Files of the World's Most Notorious Murderers, now available on Amazon. You can also purchase the PDF version directly from our website for instant download. You'll find the link in the video description and in a pinned comment. Now, let's dive into today's case. Jasmine Pace was born on May 29, 2000, in the small city of Chattanooga, Tennessee. From the moment she entered the world, her parents, Travis and Katrina, felt there was something uniquely radiant about her. Her laughter was contagious, her energy uplifting. As she grew, that spark became a symbol of joy not only in her home, but also among those who knew her. She was the eldest of four siblings: Gabriel, Travis Jr., affectionately known as Austin, and Enoch. At first glance, the Pace family seemed tight-knit and full of life, but behind closed doors, cracks began to show. Eventually, Travis and Katrina separated and moved on with their lives. Katrina later remarried a construction businessman named Scott Ben. Together, they welcomed another child, Aiden. Despite the divorce, Jasmine maintained a loving relationship with her biological father and also bonded with her stepfather. But life had its own share of heartbreak waiting for her. At just 16 years old, Jasmine lost her younger brother Austin, who passed away in a hospital on August 31, 2016. He was only 14. Years later, Jasmine, now 21, was entering a phase of personal growth. She lived with her family, studied at university, and worked for her stepfather's construction company. Like many in her generation, she explored social apps to meet people. That's how she encountered Jason Chen. Jason was the same age as Jasmine. Born on November 9, 2000, he was a first-generation Chinese-American with strict parents, Mingyu Chen and Shu Fang, who emphasized education and hard work. He had graduated from Nolensville High School and was studying computer science at the same university as Jasmine. Though described as intelligent and quiet, Jason had a questionable reputation. He was known for creating fake social media profiles to impersonate other students, initiating conversations that started friendly but soon turned uncomfortable. He even invited classmates on dates under false identities. Still, Jasmine gave him a chance. Their relationship started in 2021, ended after a few months, but rekindled again in mid-2022. That October, they took a trip to Chicago. While the romance appeared steady from the outside, Jasmine never introduced Jason to her family, not officially. They were aware of him, but had never met him face to face. Later that year, tragedy struck again when Jasmine's great-grandmother passed away. The loss hit the entire family hard, especially Jasmine. That same night, she left the hospital seeking comfort. No one could have guessed that this moment of grief would lead to a chilling mystery. Soon after Jasmine left the hospital, Katrina received a strange message from her daughter. Jasmine claimed she was going away for a week with her friend Emma to South Carolina. The timing felt odd. She'd be missing the funeral and Thanksgiving, two events Jasmine had never skipped. But given the emotional turmoil, Katrina thought it might be Jasmine's way of coping. Days passed. Jasmine never showed up at the funeral. Thanksgiving came and went. No sign of her. Katrina grew increasingly alarmed. Calls and texts to Jasmine went unanswered. The messages she did receive didn't sound like her daughter at all. Emma, the friend Jasmine was supposedly with, confirmed she hadn't seen her in a while. Then, a disturbing post appeared on Jasmine's social media on Saturday, November 26th. It featured Jasmine in a black, revealing outfit with a caption about spending Thanksgiving with my baby. Her family knew immediately something was wrong. Jasmine never posted photos like that, especially not for the public, and the picture didn't show her newest tattoos, indicating it was old. More unsettling messages followed. Some friends received texts allegedly from Jasmine telling them to leave her alone, that she wanted space. But Katrina's instincts screamed otherwise. She and Jasmine spoke regularly. Silence wasn't normal. Desperate, the family went to the police. But without concrete proof of danger, authorities didn't take urgent action. So Katrina and her family took matters into their own hands. They used an app to track Jasmine's phone, which led them to a quiet condominium complex. There, they found Jasmine's car, abandoned, locked, and empty. One detail stood out. The driver's seat was pushed far back, completely inconsistent with Jasmine's petite frame of barely over 5 feet tall. Katrina dug deeper, reviewing phone records through the family's plan. She discovered that Jasmine had a 71-minute phone call the night of November 22nd, the last day she was seen. The number belonged to Jason Chen, but when questioned, Jason claimed they had only talked for a few minutes. His story clashed entirely with the phone records. Even more alarming was his lack of concern. A girl he had dated, had just traveled with, was now missing, and Jason didn't seem worried at all. By this point, Jasmine's loved ones were no longer unsure. They were certain Jason Chen had been the last person to see her alive. Armed with this critical piece of information, the family once again reached out to the authorities. But the urgency the situation demanded still wasn't there. Police hesitated, despite the mounting evidence. So the family pressed on, acting as detectives themselves. Then came a breakthrough. Katrina discovered a message on her phone she hadn't noticed earlier. It was sent at 2:18 a.m. on November 23rd, just hours after Jasmine had left the hospital. The message included a location pin. It led them to an apartment complex. Katrina and Travis immediately drove to the address and knocked on the door of Unit 210. No one answered. Fear rising, they forced entry into the apartment. Inside, the scene chilled them. There were cleaning products in plain view, suggesting someone had recently tried to sanitize the area. A notebook with Jason's name lay on a table. Even more troubling, they found Jasmine's belongings, her driver's license, credit cards, and a distinctive travel bag she never left home without. But there was no sign of Jasmine, and no sign of Jason. With this disturbing discovery, they went back to the police. This time, the response was different. Investigators started asking questions. Neighbors were interviewed, and one recalled hearing disturbing noises, shouting and banging, coming from Jason's unit around 2 a.m. on November 23rd. A search warrant was swiftly issued. Inside Jason's apartment, the scene pointed toward violence. Red stains, later confirmed to be blood, were found throughout the unit, on the living room floor, the bathroom tiles, the bedroom carpet, even on the doors and walls. There were shards of broken glass, signs of a physical struggle. A sharp object was found on the bed. Furniture had been moved. The mattress appeared to have been repositioned, possibly to cover a large bloodstain beneath it. Using luminol, investigators lit up the hallway, revealing extensive cleaning had been attempted, but not completed. The search moved beyond the apartment. In a nearby dumpster, police found a pair of white sneakers. They belonged to Jasmine. By then, the case had shifted from a missing persons report to an active homicide investigation. Friends and family flooded social media with pleas for help, while detectives began reconstructing Jasmine's final movements using surveillance footage. Security cameras at Jason's apartment complex captured Jasmine's vehicle entering the parking lot just before midnight on November 22nd, only minutes after she was last seen by her family. More footage from inside the building showed Jason going in and out of his unit multiple times on November 23rd. But Jasmine? She was never seen leaving. Thanks to an expansive network of more than 100 city surveillance cameras, investigators tracked Jason in the following hours. Footage showed a person in a white hoodie, believed to be Jason, dragging a large suitcase out of the building and loading it into Jasmine's car. Later, cameras captured that same vehicle being driven to the location where Jasmine's parents eventually found it abandoned. A dark-colored car arrived shortly after to pick someone up. Investigators determined it was Jason, and that he had used a hired taxi. The puzzle continued to come together. Security footage from 2 local stores showed Jason shopping alone for cleaning supplies and Band-Aids. Phone data from Jasmine's device placed her in the same area at that time, but the footage clearly showed Jason was alone. Finally, on November 29th, police located Jason at his parents' home. He had cuts on his right hand, possibly sustained during a violent altercation. Inside the house, officers found a black backpack containing handwritten notes. In them, Jason attempted to craft a story that he hadn't seen Jasmine since November 19th, that they had only spoken on the 22nd, and that she had a history of running away. He accused her of having a restraining order against an ex, claimed her mother was an alcoholic, and referenced a time Jasmine allegedly fled to Canada. Her family denied all of it. The backpack also contained Jasmine's eyeglass case, and in Jason's phone, police found a photograph of Jasmine taken in the bathroom the night she vanished. There were also screenshots of deleted conversations. Then, a final lead emerged. Phone records showed Jason had traveled toward a rural highway by the river shortly after Jasmine disappeared. Authorities focused their search there. On December 1, 2022, police found a suitcase. Inside was Jasmine. The worst fears of her family were confirmed. Jasmine's lifeless body had been wrapped in black garbage bags. She was completely nude. Her right arm had been bent unnaturally behind her back and bound. Both ankles were secured with handcuffs, one cuff attached to her right elbow. Her hip was fractured, suggesting she had either been violently restrained, fought back, or tried to escape. But nothing could prepare detectives or her family for the brutality revealed in the autopsy. Jasmine had been stabbed at least 60 times. The majority of the wounds were concentrated on the upper left side of her body. One of the knives had been left embedded in her chest. It was a frenzied, violent assault, committed at close range and with devastating force. Jason Chen was arrested shortly after the discovery. Initially held in a Tennessee jail, he was transferred to Hamilton County, where he was formally charged with first-degree premeditated murder and abuse of a corpse. He was denied bail upon arrest. On December 2, 2022, Jasmine's family and friends gathered beneath the bridge where her body was found. They held a candlelight vigil, tears, prayers, and flowers honoring a life taken far too soon. Those who knew her described her as an angel, a light in their lives, a gentle soul full of joy and kindness. Her mother said Jasmine's spirit would live on, and that justice was the only path forward. Days later, on December 6th, Jason appeared in court for a bond hearing. The judge set his bail at an astonishing $5 million. If he paid, conditions would include strict house arrest, a GPS monitor, and the surrender of his passport. But for many, the very idea that he could walk free was an outrage. The community pushed back, calling the crime exceptionally violent and heinous. The idea of Jason returning to the streets, even under restrictions, was unacceptable to Jasmine's family. While legal proceedings began, Jasmine's funeral was held. Loved ones gathered to say goodbye to the young woman they adored. They clung to memories, her laughter, her tenderness, her hope, and tried to make sense of a loss that could never be justified. Then, on January 9, 2023, prosecutors unveiled chilling new details during the first formal hearing. They had constructed a complete timeline of the events before and after Jasmine's murder: surveillance footage, digital forensics, phone records, and Jason's own behavior painted a damning picture. In the hours following Jasmine's death, Jason had used her phone and credit card to log into her banking apps, her social media, and to post fake messages to make it seem like she was still alive. He even reached out to a woman on a dating app while Jasmine's body remained in his apartment. That very night, Jason organized a video game session, reportedly telling friends he just had to finish cleaning up his apartment first. Security footage also confirmed that Jason visited the Nashville airport shortly after Jasmine's disappearance. Though he never purchased a ticket, authorities believed he was attempting to flee, but backed out at the last moment. With the evidence compiled, prosecutors were confident: a solid digital footprint, a clear timeline, physical evidence. It all pointed to one horrifying truth. The trial began in January 2025, over 2 years after Jasmine's death. Due to the widespread media coverage, jurors were brought in from Nashville to ensure a fair process. Prosecutors laid it out clearly. On November 22nd, Jasmine had called Jason for emotional support after the death of her great-grandmother. Their phone conversation lasted more than an hour. That night, she went to his apartment. What happened next was described in court as a premeditated act of lethal violence. Jason waited until Jasmine was vulnerable, then attacked. Evidence showed she had been stabbed while already on the ground, positioned fatally. All 60 wounds concentrated on one side of her body. The cuts on Jason's hand matched what would be expected from using a sharp weapon. His fingerprints were on the garbage bags that had encased Jasmine's body. In court, jurors were shown the blood-stained carpet, the suitcase, and even the broken tip of the knife still lodged in her body. Forensic downloads of Jason's phone revealed it all: the images, the deleted messages, the calculated attempts to craft a cover story, and then the final twist. On the afternoon of November 23rd, well after Jasmine was dead, Jason sent her a text. It read, "Are you ready for dinner tonight?" That single message shattered any defense he might have had. It wasn't just cruel, it was cold-blooded manipulation, a last-ditch effort to maintain the illusion that Jasmine was still alive. But the truth was already out, and justice was finally catching up to him. It wasn't long before authorities confirmed what Jasmine's family already feared: the messages sent from her phone, claiming she was going to South Carolina with her friend Emma, and later telling people to leave her alone, hadn't been written by her. Jason Chen had sent them after taking her life. Among the witnesses were Jasmine's grieving parents, the neighbor who had heard her screams that night, the retail clerks who sold Jason the cleaning supplies, and the lead detectives. The neighbor's testimony was haunting. She told the court she awoke around 2:11 a.m. on November 23rd to the sound of a woman screaming. Then, she heard running footsteps and what sounded like a door slamming shut. She picked up her phone, prepared to call 911, but the noise stopped. She hesitated and didn't make the call. Exactly 7 minutes later, Jasmine's mother received a text from her daughter's number, containing a location pin. It was a moment that still haunted her. On the stand, Katrina testified that Jasmine had never sent anything like that before, especially not in the middle of the night. To the prosecution, it was clear. Jasmine, aware that her life was in danger, had tried to send a final cry for help. Katrina also addressed her decision to enter Jason's apartment without a warrant. She admitted it was against the rules, but said she didn't care. The police weren't acting quickly enough. Her daughter was missing, and she was desperate for answers. The prosecution argued that while Jason worked to clean up the crime scene, he simultaneously crafted a cover story. He posted fake updates to Jasmine's accounts, hoping to make it look like she was alive and well, all while her body remained lifeless in his apartment. To the jury, it was a cold, calculated attempt to rewrite the truth. Then, the courtroom fell into silence when Jason's defense attorney made a surprising announcement. Jason was guilty, but claimed it wasn't murder. He insisted it had been an act of self-defense, not premeditated violence. According to his version, Jason and Jasmine were drinking wine when she found flirty messages on his phone to another woman. An argument broke out. He claimed Jasmine, in a jealous rage, smashed a bottle and attacked him. He said he kicked her. She came at him again, this time with a broken wine glass, and he ran to the bedroom, grabbed a sharp object, and stabbed her in a moment of panic. The lawyer claimed Jason blacked out, only to wake and find her unconscious. He also argued that the handcuffs on Jasmine's body were added post-mortem to make her fit inside the suitcase, but this story quickly unraveled. The medical examiner took the stand and dismantled the defense's claim. Jasmine's toxicology report was clean, no alcohol, no drugs, and her injuries told a different story. The 60 stab wounds were concentrated in a single area, suggesting a sustained one-sided attack. More tellingly, Jasmine's right hand showed no defensive wounds. She had been restrained, immobilized, possibly cuffed before the stabbing even began. The prosecution stated that the defense's strategy was clear: attempt to downgrade the charge from first-degree murder to voluntary manslaughter. That meant the difference between life in prison without parole or a maximum of 15 years and a fine. To challenge the crime scene's integrity, Jason's lawyers brought in a forensic expert. They argued that Katrina's unauthorized entry had contaminated the evidence. They even implied that certain elements may have been planted. They questioned Travis, Jasmine's father, about inconsistencies in Katrina's story. But Jason remained silent. He chose not to testify. He showed no emotion, no apology, no sign of remorse. After 6 days of testimony, the jury retired for deliberations. It took them less than an hour. They returned with a verdict: guilty. Jason Chen, 24 years old, was convicted of first-degree premeditated murder and abuse of a corpse. During the sentencing phase, the jury had one more decision to make. Should Jason ever be eligible for parole? His lawyer pleaded for mercy. He argued that giving Jason the chance of release decades down the line would reflect compassion, but the jury was unmoved. In under an hour, they issued the sentence: life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jason had taken Jasmine's life without reason. He had tried to erase his crime. But in the end, the digital trail he left behind, the texts, the security footage, the purchases, the lies, led police straight to the truth. And it allowed Jasmine's family to bury their daughter and bring her killer to justice. After the trial concluded, Katrina filed a civil lawsuit against Jason's parents. She claimed they had knowingly sheltered a fugitive and obstructed justice. In March 2025, the case was quietly settled. The agreement remained confidential, but it was later reported that Jason's parents paid $17 million. To this day, the motive behind Jasmine's murder remains unclear, but her memory lives on, through her laughter, her warmth, her light, and through those who now live fully in her honor, because Jasmine never got the chance to. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.